What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Miltrick Media. I am sitting down with Michael Morales, a music industry professional and artist manager, and he works in the live event industry. Michael, how's it going? Thank you for being here.
Of course, it's such a pleasure to see, what your brand has become these past few years, and to finally be a part of it and working with you has been great. But I'm doing well. I mean, we're hitting the end of June here. A lot of different events coming up this summer. Just came off of a couple myself. Just ran off of a nice week off of CMA Fest. So you try to catch that time to sleep whenever you can.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And you were saying you were working on CMA Fest this year. How was that? What was that experience like?
It was like no other. I mean, CMA number one is a great company to work with. It's my second time working with them. I did the CMA Awards. I was on the health and safety team back of house. And then I got a transition to being a talent assistant and escort, realistically making sure the artists get to where they need to be, think places like media, catering, the green rooms, making sure they're at their stage for their call times. And, realistically just being that helping hand that's connecting the stage to the artist. It was fantastic. And I hope to be able to do it again with that organization.
Yeah, that sounds great. And recently we were talking about it, how you were originally from New York, born and raised, and you moved down to Nashville in the last couple of years. So what was that move like, and how are you liking Nashville so far?
Nashville has had a lot of opportunity for me. I was in grad school for a bit when I was in New York, and the pandemic had just hit, and things were very uncertain. But Nashville is just the land of opportunity. So many people come here to write. So many people come here to do events, and you are just surrounded by people that have very similar dreams that you do, which is just to be in this crazy industry that we all love. But it was a crazy transition. I mean, I literally made the decision last minute in June of literally this time last year that I was going to pack up two suitcases, hop on an airplane, and live at my girlfriend's apartment for 6 months till we got our own place. And because I wanted to work at one of the venues here and just, dive feet first. I had been in Nashville every other month before that from an agency I was with. And I just fell in love with it because, as I said, just the culture here and the people that come with it and the opportunity. I mean, I've made so many friends within the industry as well as friends that have come from professional relationships here. So it's been a transition to have like that actual friendship in the industry as well.
Yeah, that sounds great. You work in the live event industry, you work numerous live music industry events. So what is it like working as a live event worker in the music and entertainment industry?
It's a lot of energy. You have to make sure you're on. A lot of times, I mean, you have, your brain's getting pulled so many different directions. You have to be ready for sudden change. It's an industry where such things as weather, health can really impact what you're doing there. But what really brings me there and makes me love it and feel at home there is you are that connection between the fan and the music and the artist. And a lot of times you forget that, someone's coming to your venue and they're seeing their artist. Maybe they've been waiting 10 years to see. You are a part of that experience. So, you have to be on your game. You can't be having a crappy day or you're ruining someone else's experience. And it just making sure that everyone has what they need. Sometimes a big thing that I have found this past year is safety between COVID protocols. Places like counterterrorism is some things you don't expect to learn when you're in college that now play a big role in this live entertainment industry that we have. And ironically, issues like that have created more jobs. We have COVID compliance officers now, a lot of emergency services that have now being put into place. But yeah, I mean, it's a place where you create a lot of bonds and meet a lot of fantastic people. A lot of industry jobs, you sit in your office and then you go home, but the music industry thrives on people.
Yeah.
And these relationships that you build. For me, it's being able to go and have these new experiences, meeting these people that come from across the world. I mean, I was, you hear the age old when you're in college, oh, you're going to be in an elevator with, person XYZ. I was actually in an elevator when I was working the Justin Bieber tour. And I didn't realize it, but I was in an elevator with Eddie Benjamin, totally great artist. Everybody should check him out. But that was my introduction to him. He had some small talk with me in the elevator. I'm like, this guy's pretty cool. And then it clicked with me after who he was. But that's even artists I've ran into at the airport that I've worked with previously. You have more of a reason to listen to the music because you appreciate the person, and that's what
Yeah.
recently live music and events has done for me.
That's what's great about working in the music industry. And what's exciting about live events, those random moments and the spontaneous moments that you come across. You never know who you may meet.
Yeah, and that's why you have to be on your game and always professional. I met one of the big executives this past year in the film and live industry in Nashville, and her name's Mama Sue, and she does not play around. I had the pleasure of meeting her, and she had a very good, forceful handshake that was reminding me, like, this industry you can't mess up in. And she said, "Don't be a germ. Artists know what a germ is." And I'm like, what's a germ? They're people that are overly excited that ruin the experience for them. People that don't take it like, here we're here at work, so we're going to act professional, versus they have to like feel like they're on their game because somebody's watching them constantly, or being too much in their face, instead of just, hey, let's hop on the golf cart and take you where you need to go.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You have to remain professional. The music industry is one of those industries where you have to always be on. You have to, like you said, you can't have a bad day. You have to always be professional and be enthusiastic. I was working a festival last September. I was working in New Jersey, and we were doing artist transportation. We were doing the logistics. We were working and taking artists to and from the different stages. It was an outdoor festival, and there was 3 stages. We were just driving artists to and from. And yeah, even though you're driving artists that you just met, they're substantially big artists. You have to just, stay on. You can't kind of lose your cool. You can't act unprofessional. So that was a great point that you mentioned.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's just also that healthy balance of not overthinking it too, because you overthink it, you're going to mess up, do something you wouldn't normally do, instead of just being like, "Hey, I'm here to do my job that I've been doing all week."
Yeah, yeah. So moving on from live events, you also work in artist management. You are an artist manager yourself. So let's talk about that. What is an artist manager?
The artist manager is that person that now takes the creative part of what the artist has been working on and now channels that into the business aspect. Realistically, you're creating opportunity for the artist. You're really helping that brand and that business grow. At the end of the day, an artist is a business. If you're doing it right, there will be a financial section that comes in. There will be legal sides, and a lot, once an artist gets to that point, they need that advice, that guidance. And I always say that not everybody's ready for management. That's my integrity move. I've had people that come up to me and they're like, "Hey, I would love for you to manage me," and I have to be real with them and say, "Hey, I would love to work with you, but you're not to that point yet, because there's a lot of DIY you can do, which some artists do really great." So I guess to answer your question full circle, an artist manager is that person that now takes on those roles and responsibilities that allows the artist to focus on the songwriting, the onstage performance. And there are different levels of management. Some people just do the business side. I love to have a hand in the creative, helping be that outside perspective as well.
Yeah. And you mentioned how some artists, they're just not there yet, but you'd love to work with them. And a lot of artists, they have to put in more work on their own, which is just part of the industry. So when it comes to the case of the artist, when have they reached the point where a manager can step in?
I think when you're having trouble really balancing, realistically, a creative career is a balancing act. We have the economic standpoint. Are we sustaining financially? Are we going to have enough money to get into the studio? Um, when you're getting to the point where you need networking, a lot of what somebody should look for in an artist management is um, a network that comes with it, resources that maybe an artist doesn't have because it was never really their job to have it, as much as a professional that's been around the industry that shows up and is ready to go. But I think if you're getting to the point where you're exhausting all different points and you're ready for someone to step in, I think that's huge, where you feel like you're now the entrepreneur that needs the manager to come and run your business.
Yeah. When you're the entrepreneur that needs someone to come and help run your business. Yeah. Being a music artist, being an artist, it is a business. And in order to make it a full-time career, you have to find ways to monetize. It's hard to balance, but it is a balancing act. having a creative career is a balancing act, like you said. That is a great point. When it comes to building an artist brand from the ground up, let's say you're working with a brand new artist. What is one thing you would tell them when they're trying to get that started? How would you advise them with getting started from the ground up with building their brand before they release
So
any music?
so something that actually was my intro to artist management was artist consulting. And that's when I would do small meetings with artists that needed some brief help and guidance there, but I wasn't ever their full-time manager. It was just, every so often. So that was actually my first intro, was working with artists like that. And my biggest advice was, flexibility. You have to be ready and able to look for opportunities where you're flexible. You can't be stuck in your ways and say no to things all the time. I always say, if it's not hurting the artistic integrity, go with it. Or hurting the brand, being flexible and open to new ideas is huge. But showing up, going the extra mile, there's some people that I'm shocked, that I don't work with, but I'm pretty close with, like something as simple as doing your Instagram reposts after a show. You got people tagging you left and right, and you don't follow through. And number one, engage with that fan. You don't show that someone's, going out to show you some love in some certain ways, because that, if someone's putting you on their social media, that meant you made an impression on them. But you have to go and take that next step and show up.
And they're taking
And
the
also,
time to repost on their story. That is huge because everyone's bombarded with so many different creators, so much content. If they're taking that time, even if it's a couple of seconds to do that, yeah, you got to interact with them and show some love back. You can't leave them in the lurch.
yeah, and it's super important. That's why I say showing up, being in it, just can't let these simple opportunities, just like housekeeping, the simple things, putting on that turn signal when you're driving, that's normal. That's something you got to do. So that's something I think is important. Leveling up, I think a lot of people get ego and they say no to a lot of opportunities because they think they're better than it. And this can also cause financial strain. Sometimes you got to do show. We even see some of the biggest names. They will play some very non-traditional shows. Sometimes you'll see an artist that's playing, an arena, and then maybe on a Tuesday night they're playing like a college gym, because that's just how you do business. You go full circle and you make sure that you have that financial guarantee. And, you go from that more luxury stage to something that's a little down pat, reminding you that there's a need for that.
Yeah. Do you think it's important for a music artist to build a buzz in their hometown first, or to just focus on a wide array of marketing strategies, just getting it in front of as many eyes as possible?
I think a happy medium. If you're at the right place, and that's a case by case basis, because sometimes you can come from a hometown that might not appreciate music, number one, and not have so much opportunity there, but also maybe not appreciate your style of music. I grew up in Orange County, New York, in a very, very traditional town that did not appreciate hip hop. So if I came out of there with a hip hop career, there wouldn't be that much support there, versus if I came out of there with a country. Fast forward to where I move now, it's the opposite of that when I'm downstate in New York. But I think getting that hometown buzz and hometown rally is huge. It'll help. And there's an artist that I think does a great job of that. She's from New York, Jessica Lynn. Her local support has helped her go so many different places in just this world alone. She's done international tours, and she started as a hometown girl in Westchester County. And so much respect to her career for doing that. But now I think she's a great example that I'm totally willing to name drop, that her social media target is those broad views that you're mentioning. And they're not just, hey, I'm this girl from this place. She's be able to reach a wider array of an audience. So Jessica, if you're hearing this, shout out to you for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. So if someone is looking to get involved with artist management, how can someone become an artist manager? What advice do you have to them?
I think knowing the industry is huge. I think having some form of, I don't want to say education, because I think a lot of people can be successful in the industry without needing a degree per se, but you need to know the industry. I think you need to know the legalities for sure. there's been times when there was artists I was consulting that I've had to be like, hey, that's copyright infringement. I'm not going to tell you not to post it or, release that. However, I do have to walk you through the steps of what can happen if you do. And that is my I guess my obligation as a professional in the industry with the background, knowing things like that.
You're
I
walking
think,
them through the fire in a way.
yeah. We had another artist for a strategic reason. We pushed the release back by a couple weeks, and I had to sit her down and explain to her why. Not because we didn't want to put the music out, but how the results that she was looking for were going to be better if we had given it more time. And how many times we see an artist that literally does the opposite and goes and drops music the week after it's recorded. So I think being able to walk somebody through and have those people skills and explain things in the industry is huge. If you're looking to be an artist manager, I think being able to say no, and that goes for people you're working with, opportunities, remembering to have that clear focus that, I've had worked with some real a-holes, and I've wanted to pop off, but I've had to remember that I'm not representing just myself. I'm representing the brand of the artist. So I think just, being able to take it on the chin sometimes and just saying, thank you for the opportunity. Maybe we'll talk next time. But going along with what I said for the artist is you need to show up. You need to go and create these connections and these opportunities and have your name out there. And that's what I had the opportunity to do towards like mid-pandemic when I first came to Nashville. I was going to writers' rounds. I was working for an agency that was very big on networking that helped me have that opportunity. But now the most important part that I will leave any young professional with is your name. You cannot put your name with any company or brand that is going to hurt it. And for me, that was an experience I had when I first came to Nashville. I was working with an agency that, in my opinion, wasn't treating the artists too well. And it could have had a real bad reflect on my career in the long run. And I had to end up parting ways because, I don't want to be labeled as somebody that doesn't respect artistic integrity, which is huge to me. So I think, not selling out and remembering why you're in this industry. If you're in the industry for the wrong reason, that's going to hurt you. Me, I'm an artist first. I was a percussionist. I knew what it was like to write music. I knew how protective of my work I got, so that I'm able to take that empathy when I'm working with the artists.
Yeah. Yeah. And me and you, we both attended SUNY Oneonta. We studied music industry at SUNY Oneonta. That's where me and you first met. So obtaining a degree in music industry and going to school for that subject, how would you say that experience led you to working in the music industry now? How did that prepare you for working in the music industry now?
That's a very interesting question because we're in that big debate of, do you need a college degree now? I think my degree, or the degree that we both worked towards and received, taught me about the industry. And then it was my responsibility to go out and now apply that to the real world. And in a place like SUNY Oneonta, we're very fortunate to be able to have these opportunities where we can actually step in and apply this. We have a great network within our community there, and those opportunities to take risks. But it didn't hit me until like maybe years later why some of my curriculum was the way it was, until I had other experiences in the industry. Like, why am I in these business courses with these food and service industry majors, these fashion majors? And then it finally clicked that, a lot of these skills you have to have a wide variety of.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to have a wide variety of skills because that could apply to numerous different in-the-moment situations pertaining to the music industry. So what artists are you working with currently?
So I've had the pleasure of working with two very fantastic artists that are very different right now. One of them is Becca Tremel. I like to consider what I'm doing for them right now as direct support because I don't want to put myself in that form of management yet because I believe in relationship building first. So we'll see what comes out of that relationship for sure. But Becca is fantastic. She literally is, when I say entrepreneur, that is what she is. She knows how to seek out opportunities. She's a great writer. She's very big on collabing with artists, and you just know you're in the room with the right person when you go to Becca's shows. You look at the people that come and show up, and you feel like a good vibe there because you're around some very good creatives, and that's something that she's very strong with. One of her latest releases we've been working on a lot of typewriter material with. So we actually had her bring her typewriter to a show that she was on with Nashville Tour Stop, and it was write her notes, and it was some really good branding opportunity there. And she has just been nothing but a pleasure to work with. And we sat down a couple of times before we've started working ways with each other. And I think it's very important to build those relationships first. You got to look at artist management like it's dating. How much are you willing to put in with another person, but also know that they're there for the right reason? And I think her and I are at a good level there, and just so much respect to her work. She has a full lady band. They're freaking awesome. I mean, they really know how to throw down. It's about I think she went out with a 6-piece band last time we did it. And then the other artist I'm working with, who I have the most history right now, is Tommy Habib. Tommy has just a great sound to him. He's a fantastic writer, where he's able to take, it gives me feels of 80s rock. And he can put out any form of ensemble, make it good. He just headlined the Pop Rocks this past week at the end or earlier this month. And, he's another one that just fantastic to work with, really good team effort, and, is flexible. And that's, what makes my life easier is people flexible and or willingness to try new things. So they have been just my 2 rock stars that, make everything worth it on those rough days.
Yeah, that's great. That sounds great. And it sounds like the future is going to be really exciting. Michael, where can we find you on social media? Let the audience know where we can find you.
Mikey Mo 94, MIKEYMO 94. That's where I try to give most of my industry updates, show everybody what's going on. But it's been, such a pleasure to be on this podcast that I've been watching for a good chunk now. See the fantastic guests, and, Miltrick, it's just a pleasure to watch you grow as a professional as well. So I'm really happy to have been here.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's great to have you on as well. And it's really cool to see what you've done recently in the industry. And yeah, the future is looking really bright. Any other social media platforms that we can find you? Let the audience know. Do you have a Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, anything like that?
I think Twitter's coming soon, but I have to get funnier first.
I got you. Any TikTok, YouTube, anything like that?
Oh yeah, TikTok. I mean, same username, MikeyMo94. I'm trying to get more industry stuff up there too. But until then, you can laugh at my funny stuff that I put up that's probably not that funny.
Hey, listen, it's all good. Content is content. It's all good. But Mikey, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Miltrick Media. Be sure to check him out on social media. Like he said, his ad is MikeyMo94 on Instagram and TikTok. I hope he's posting more content soon. Thank you for sitting down with me, man. It was a pleasure. And thank you all for tuning into another episode of Miltrick Media, and we will see you soon.